Discovering Chinese dramas in 2018 opened up a whole new world of Asian dramas to me, and I've been hooked ever since. 4 years later, Tea and Soju was born, so that I can extend my love of Chinese dramas and Asian dramas in general to others out there and find a community. So, sit back and let's chat Asian dramas. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Tea and Soju C Drama Podcast. I'm your host, Liliana, and in today's episode, we have another guest episode. And it's very exciting because not only do we get to talk dramas, but we get to talk food. And if you follow me on the socials or if you follow on Discord, you know that I'm a huge food person. I love food in general. And so that is what this episode's going to be dedicated. We are going to be chatting to Claire, and she's gonna be, talking to us about food and dramas in general. So I hope you guys enjoy it. But just before we get into that, I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping. If you enjoy the podcast, please remember to subscribe and share and follow on all of the listening platforms. That really helps other people to find the podcast. If you'd like to support further, there is Patreon, where I release backstage clips as well as movie reviews and first impressions. So that's all over on there. And then there is Discord and all of the socials such as Instagram. And I will link all of those in the description box for both myself and Claire. So you can go and follow both of us on any of those. But before we get into the episode, hello, Claire, and welcome. If you'd like to go ahead and just introduce yourself, just a little brief introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on here. I know this was a long time in the making, and we finally were able to make it happen. So my name is Claire. I'm located right now in Los Angeles, California. So actually, by trade, I am a medical student. I'm currently taking time off between my third and fourth year. But aside from being a medical student, I'm a huge foodie. I love to cook. I love to go out and eat. Like the live to eat motto, that's what I live by. So
I love following your page for all the food content. I really do. So where I live, I don't get access to a lot of things in general. I live like in a smaller town outside of big cities, so I don't really get access to a lot of things. And unless you're in big cities like London here in the UK, you don't get a lot of diversity, so to speak. But I just live vicariously through your page a lot of the time because I'm just like,
I'm so glad.
I love to see all the food that you post on there. I'm a huge, and it's strange because when I was growing up, I wasn't very much of a food person. Luckily, my mum, because I moved to the UK when I was very young, and their food culture isn't. It's not like a great food culture in general, but my mum made me like grow up with like Portuguese food culture, so I'm very much, so I'm very much that. And then when I started watching Asian dramas and started watching all of this food on screen, I was like, I just want to eat it all because
The PPL is working.
It is because I'm like obsessed with trying new stuff. I'm the type of person who will try any type of food at least once, and then like if it's prepared in a different way, I will still try it again. So yeah, I was very excited to record this episode with you. But before to get into all the food, so because you also watch Asian dramas, don't you? So how did you get into like Asian dramas, and what's your little story into that?
So my story is a little bit different, I would say, than most. So when I was in my last year of college, I actually started dating my long-term boyfriend. We've been together for almost 5 years now. So he is Korean American, and that's an important factor into how I get into dramas. So I used to watch the typical American cop TV shows like NCIS, and no problems with those shows, but that was the only thing I watched and the only thing I knew. So he was like, there's something called K-dramas, like they're really, really good. You should try them. And I was like, oh, like I believe you, but I really like the shows I'm watching. So I think I put it off for like a couple years into our relationship. And then he was like, no, I think you would really enjoy it. So my first one I started with K-dramas was Crash Landing on You.
Yeah.
So
I
And
think that's a big draw. I think a lot of people came into Korean dramas with Crash Landing on You. It was a whole era, I think.
absolutely, I feel like it just ushered in a
Mm,
lot of more of the Western influence, especially being on Netflix, I think
yeah.
was really great for K-dramas because they finally got the recognition and I
Mm,
finally realized how amazing they were. So that kind of, he like tipped me over the edge and I just like fell
yeah.
in face first. So I watched first K-dramas and then I would say about like maybe a year ago, when I was like on the K-dramas, hunt, I found Vicky and I was like, oh, there are also other Asian dramas on this site. I wonder what they're like.
Yeah.
And then that's how I found my plunge into C dramas as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. It's a whole new world when you discover like all the other content. You're like, oh my God, there's so much out there. It's
Right?
insane. Yeah, yeah. I definitely get that. I came in through C dramas and then found Korean dramas.
Oh.
So mine's like I started off basically my partner as well, huge
Mhm.
anime fan, and I started when we started dating. I sort of said, oh, I'll try one. So I started watching a bunch of anime, and
Mhm.
funnily enough, a lot of anime is like their food always looks really good in anime.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
so, but from that, Netflix kind of like suggested a Chinese drama, and then I started watching Chinese dramas, and then it suggested Korean dramas, and then I just went like, into the whole Asian drama down that course. So yeah. So what are some of your favorite dramas in general? Like just, some ones that you really,
Mhm.
really love.
It's so funny because I feel like whenever I get asked that question, I have like 20, like a lost roster of 20
Yeah.
because it's like, what genre you're talking
Yeah,
about? Like, are we
exactly.
talking happy? Are we
Yeah.
talking sad? Are we C drama, K
Yeah,
drama?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but the ones that come immediately to mind are a couple of K dramas and one C drama. I think for the C drama, the name literally fell out of my head, but I think it's Go Ahead. You
Is it a
might,
Yeah, yeah. It's Go Ahead is about two dads, three kids, and you kind of see the
yes,
three kids. Yeah, that's Go Ahead.
yes, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I was right. I was right.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the first C dramas I
Mm,
watched, and it was a very, how I would. For me, it was a very slice of life, and I really
mm.
liked that kind of longer aspect. And I think that's the difference with C dramas with how many episodes they really kind of go in a lot deeper
Yeah.
into some topics. So I loved that drama. And
It's
for oh, go ahead.
It's one of my all-time favorite dramas is Go Ahead. I absolutely adore it. I endorse it to everybody. It's just one of those dramas that I feel pretty much anybody can sort of take away something from it. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's all I've always said, I just want to go and sit and have noodles with all of them. Like I just want to go and
Yes,
sit
in
and
the
have
noodle shop. Oh my
yeah, yeah.
gosh, yes.
So yeah. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites as well.
So for the other two that kind of just popped immediately into my head, one is one that I will kind of talk about, which does a lot, has a lot to do with food, is
Mm.
Weightlifting Fairy Kim Bok-joo.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's one of my all-time favorites. I think, especially like when I got into like Crash Landing on You, I actually went backwards.
Mm.
I didn't go forwards with the newer
Yeah.
dramas. I really watched the older ones, and that was one of the ones I really enjoyed
Mm.
because I'm a former athlete, so I really
Oh,
liked
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
sports aspect
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well, and
yeah.
I think they did a good job with that.
Mm. Yeah, that's really good choices. Yeah, I've watched both of them and really enjoyed both of them. I feel like when weightlifting came out and that sort of dramas, like 2016, 2017 is like peak Korean drama for me. It's
I
like
100% agree.
it's just one of those eras that I loved Korean dramas back then. It's probably where I've watched most of my Korean dramas is from 2016 and 2017, I would say. So
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, that's all that bit there. So we've sort of gone through that. And I think I can kind of guess, but I would love to hear your story on how did you get into like Asian food in general? Because I'm curious. Like for me, it was mainly I started watching it more and more in my, dramas, and from there I
Mhm.
kind of, went from there. But I think you'd probably have a slightly different story. So
A little bit different. So when I was growing up, I grew up in Central California, which is pretty diverse. So I
mm,
was still able to get a little bit of Asian food, but like the extent was like sushi. Like that was the
yeah.
most Asian
Yeah.
food I would eat. But when I actually went to my university here in Los Angeles, and that kind of really opened a lot of doors because a lot of my classmates were either from different countries, different Asian countries, or of Asian descent and different ethnicities. So I really got open. They would make me home cooked pho,
Oh
like
my
all from
God.
scratch. I know. I still can remember that from that memory so
Mm,
clearly. And so in college, I really started trying out a lot of different Asian foods, and I really realized how much I loved it. And then when I started dating my boyfriend, that's when I really fell
yeah.
into Korean food. And so my diet actually consists 90%, as you probably know
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
watching my page, is
Yeah.
like mostly Korean food.
Yeah, but I feel like it's to me it's so exciting when somebody, and that is from any ethnicity, any background, any, country. It's one of the most special things when somebody chooses to share their culture and their food with you. I just feel like to me that's such a great, a great thing to do. I am very much one of those people who, whenever I travel, I like to go around tasting food and just, tasting, and not like the big restaurants or anything like that, but the small little alleyway,
Mom and pop. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
I feel like you get the most authentic type of food there. And I'm really lucky because my partner is also Portuguese and he's exactly like me in the sense that he will try any type of food. He is, very adventurous with food as well. So I love that we match on that aspect because we just, we'll go out and we'll try anything at least once.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I always feel like whenever somebody just shares that food with you is just, it's just great. So yeah. Uh, So I think we're just gonna, that was great little intro and chat, but I think we're just gonna go. This is a good segue to sort of segue into our favorite foods. So in this bit of the episode, Claire and I have, compiled a list, and by list I said like our top three foods that are Asian that we both really enjoy. Mine are actually mostly all Chinese, just because it's the food that I tend to watch a lot more of nowadays. So that will be, what we're going to do for this little bit. So I think Claire, what have you got first on your list for this segment?
So first on my list is something I have actually eaten once a week for like years.
Oh.
Yes, I would make it from complete scratch. So it's soft tofu stew, sundubu in
Mm.
Korean. So I was introduced it, but to a chain here in Los Angeles. And when I first tried it, I was like, this is delicious. And I absolutely loved it. And it was unfortunate because I was going away for school, and I was like, where I'm going to for school, I didn't have
Oh
access to
no.
it. And I was like, oh my God, exactly. It's like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So that chain actually has a little packet so that you can buy at grocery stores. So I
Oh.
went to the specific grocery
Yeah,
store so I
yeah,
could buy that
yeah.
packet and make it. And so and then after I bought the packet a couple of times, I was like, you know what, let me try it and make it myself. So I have been making it consistently for myself in my black little pot that I bought
Yeah.
specifically to make
Specifically
sundubu
for it.
in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is one of those recipes that I really want to try. But there's nowhere around me that does it. And I don't want to, I don't know. I'm a bit worried. Is it really spicy or can you tone it down?
You can tone it down. That's what the great
Yeah.
part about this is that you don't have to put up the highest spice
Yeah,
tolerance. It
yeah,
really depends on how much of the spice you put in
yeah.
yourself. And that's why I like making it from scratch. So some days I want it spicier, some days I want it less spicy. So I think you could definitely, whether you order it at a restaurant or make it at home, you can definitely get it to your spice tolerance level.
I feel like by the end of this episode, I'm just gonna be like, Claire, could you send me the recipes for these so I can try them out?
Absolutely,
Because
I got you.
I would love to try that. I feel like tofu is one of those ingredients that I always want to like try more of, but then I never quite know what to do with it.
I absolutely no, I completely understand what you're talking about, especially because it doesn't have a lot of taste itself, but I
Mm,
think that's the amazing part about it is that, for example, like mapo tofu, the
yeah.
Chinese dish,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it soaks up all of the spice and it tastes amazing. So it's this vessel that you just have to have the actual flavor that it kind of
Yeah.
accompanies, but you got to get the main
Yeah,
flavor
yeah,
before you can
yeah.
have it accompany
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. See, that's always my thing. Like, I'm whenever I want to try anything. So, in the UK, yes, there is a lot of Chinese takeaways, but the Chinese takeaway culture in like the UK is definitely not like Chinese food in general. It's like Chinese food, maybe made to a British palate, I would say. So
Mhm.
whenever I go to London, which I live like 3 hours away from London, but I kid you not, I always like stop at Chinatown. That's like that's my favorite place to go. Is like Chinatown is just like a go from place to place to have like different things to eat. Because that's where I think you get some of the most authentic food in terms of, well, at least from what I gather, in the UK. But yeah, I will have to try that one because I have not tried it and I have seen it a lot of times. And I always think that looks really tasty, but it looks really spicy. And I can do spice to a certain degree. It's really funny. I've built my tolerance to spice over time, but it's
I
still
believe it.
not, yeah, yeah. It's still not very, very high. But yeah. So my first choice is a sweet.
Yes.
It's a sweet, and they are called Tang Yun, and they are little like rice ball. I would compare them
Oh.
almost to a mochi. It's
Mhm.
similar. So it's made out of glutinous rice flour, and you cook them in like water, just in water, and they come like
Mhm.
with different flavors. So the most common flavors are like black sesame or peanuts
Oh,
inside.
that sounds amazing.
Oh my God, they are, I kid you not, I will devour these. They are not, see, what I really, really like, as I've gotten older, I used to have the biggest sweet tooth, and I still do. But
Mhm.
what I really appreciate about Asian desserts in general is that they tend to be a lot less sweet, but for some reason
Right.
they work really well. And this is one of those. And I had no idea what this was, randomly got it at like the Asian supermarket in, the city near me.
Oh,
Because
that's the best.
that's what I do. Half the time I just go in and I'm like, I don't know what any of this is, but I will
Let me
have
just
that.
pick it off
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
shelf.
yeah. That's literally me just because I just love trying new things. So, and this looked really,
Absolutely.
really interesting because when you bite into it, it's like really chewy, but then you have like the soft, filling on the inside that just kind of melts. It's
Mm.
so delicious. And you have like taro flavored ones, which are my personal favorite. I love anything taro flavored. So you have taro flavored like black sesame peanuts, like I said. So you have so many. And the story behind them is they are typically had at like Lantern Festival, which is uh
Oh, that's
typically, yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Typically in like February time. And so a friend of mine is from Hong Kong and she taught me like how to do them. And she said, my family tends to have them in like a little sauce. So you cook up, it's just like a simple brown sugar and ginger syrup that you make, and then you just drizzle that over the top of the little, tangyun, and they're so delicious. I honestly love them, and
I'm hungry now. I
I
want
know,
to go buy
I
some of
know,
that.
I know. I'm very excited because I had completely ran out, and I got a delivery today, and I had like two packets. I ordered two packets of them. I got the taro flavored and the peanut flavored. So I'm very, very excited. But yeah, that's what they are. And like I said, so you have some of the fillings. You can have black sesame crushed peanuts, you can have jujube paste, you can have red bean paste, lotus seed paste, like custard, matcha. There is, various different ones, and every single province does it slightly different in China.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I said, they are similar to a mochi, but I think because, like, whereas a mochi is dry, like, the outside of a mochi is kind of like dry and it's very, very chewy. Like this is
Right.
kind of like chewy, yes, because it's still made out of that rice glutinous flour, but it's wet because you obviously cook them in water and then you serve
Hmm.
them. So yeah, it's one of the things that I adore to eat. I tend to have, on my in my freezer ready to go, like for a little snack or a little dessert. So yeah, that's my first choice. Is that they're called Tangyun. That's what
Oh
Um,
my gosh, I'm gonna go look it up immediately after and be like,
do
where can I buy
do
Dinky? Like, need to go buy
Yeah,
now.
honestly do. And like I definitely recommend them. They like I said, they're super easy to I buy them because they are quite tricky to get right. But you can just buy them and all you have to do is boil them in hot water and then like make the little accompanying, liquid that goes with them.
Sauce.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's it. It's like it's the easiest thing and it's so delicious. It's like not too sweet at all. So yeah, definitely. It's like I adore eating these like all the
Oh,
time.
that's I know. I'm gonna try the taro since you said that was your favorite. I definitely gonna get
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
taro.
The taro's really nice. My partner's favorite is the peanut flavored one. He adores the peanut flavored one. So that one's really good as well. So yeah, that's my first choice. What's on your list for, your second choice?
My second choice. It's funny that you brought up sweets because I have a huge sweet tooth, but all of my choices
Mm.
are savory. So I'm like, what? Like I'm like, what is this? Who am I? Why don't I have any savory? But my second dish is actually something I am very proud of making myself, and I've
Yeah.
been made it from scratch. It's another Korean dish. It's posam.
Mhm.
So it's translates, I guess, to English like boiled pork.
Okay.
But it's usually a dish that takes a really long time to make, and you boil it for a very long time with the accompanying spices. But it tastes amazing when you pair it with all the side dishes,
Mm.
the Korean side dishes, and you have it like wrapped up in a like salted cabbage leaf. Which when you think of a salted cabbage leaf, you're like, I don't want to eat that. But when you eat it with
Yeah.
like the posam, it just tastes so
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah.
And one of my proudest, I guess, like things I made myself was posam that I made it from scratch.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like I didn't have to buy it out.
Oh my
I made all the
God.
banchan, all the
Yeah,
side
yeah,
dishes
yeah,
with
yeah.
it. And I had my friends come over, and it was something I was really proud of making.
Yeah, yeah. No, that sounds like I love when and I think this is something that a lot of cultures have. It feels like food that, when it takes so long to cook or to prepare, it's just like it's to me, it's like another type of love language in a sense, because it's like how people show their love.
Absolutely.
I'm very much so in Portugal, we tend to be a culture of big, food in general. We tend to be a lot more seafood and that sort of thing, just because
Yes, right.
we live near the sea. We're surrounded by it pretty much on all sides of the country. Um, so it's something that I really, really adore to eat is seafood. And I
Mhm.
feel like when I watch a lot of Asian food in general, it's like that seems to me a lot of the time how people show their love is like through their food and by asking, "Have you eaten?" and stuff like that. And I just feel like
Absolutely.
it's such a huge part of their culture, and I can like resonate with that because to me it's such a big part of my own culture, and it's something that, I'm very proud of having. So yeah, I can, whenever something takes you so long and then you're just so proud of yourself and then people taste it
Absolutely.
and I think a lot of the time it's not even for the acknowledgement or anything, but just people enjoying the food you make is such like a good feeling, I think. So yeah, sharing food in general is just, something that is so special, I think.
Absolutely. That's why I cook and bake so
Mm,
often is because not necessarily I want someone to acknowledge that I made it, but the
mm.
joy I can see that food bringing. I don't need to hear it. I can just
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
the happy like I do a happy dance when I'm
Yeah.
happy with my food. I love and that's like kind of what I love to see that something that I made brought joy to
Mm,
someone else and all the time, all the effort kind of spent was worth it because I
yeah.
brought joy.
Yeah, I'm very much like that. I whenever I have good food, I just feel so good. And then I do a little happy dance whenever I enjoy my food. I feel like I don't know. I like I said, this is something kind of recent. I say, probably when I moved out at 18 and sort
Mhm.
of kind of fended for myself. That's when I started to enjoy and learn way more about food in general. And ever since then, I'm just like, I'm quite happy just if I could travel the world just eating, I would be the happiest person.
Right?
That
I feel like that would be my dream job is like to be like a professional food taste
yeah,
tester just
yeah,
going
yeah, yeah,
everywhere. That's whenever I see travel vloggers
yeah.
or
Mm,
travel YouTubers, I'm always so jealous because they have they're able to go and travel
yeah.
and look at all of this food. And I think you mentioned earlier, I love when food has a culture and there's something behind it.
Mm,
And when you travel, you're able to really learn about that culture through its food. And
yeah.
I think especially like us watching Asian dramas, we're really able to understand more about these different cultures by eating their
Yeah,
food.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what I appreciate as well, like specifically like to your page, is that you will present food in a way that you'll never be disrespectful to the food. Because I know there's like a lot of people out there, and it drives me insane when people will like try food and they'll be like, oh, that's disgusting, or this or that. And I feel like that's so disrespectful. It's okay to not
100%
like
agree.
it's okay to not like a type of food, but just say, oh, it's not to my taste. And that's fine. Not everybody's going to like the same kind of, not everybody's going to have the same palates or anything. But that's like something that I really, really appreciate about your page is that you can see the love that you put out with your food. And it just
Oh,
honestly, that's why I love following you. I'm like, oh, I'm always hungry whenever I follow your page.
I know. So I did my job is done. I made you hungry.
Yeah, I'm always hungry. So yeah, I think so for me that my second
Yes.
choice is something that is I think very common and probably something that everywhere will, know what it is. And it is fried rice. I love fried rice. I think it's one of the most basic recipes that comes, and I think every Asian country has like a slightly different takes on, fried rice. And I just adore it because it's one of those things that you can just use up the rest of your rice. You can just use up, put anything into it and kind of make it your own.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that every single family will do it slightly different. And it's one of those things that I just adore to eat. I will pair it with, I will quite happily just sit there with a bowl of like fried rice and, eat it away. And I think it's like food simplicity sometimes is always, can make dishes just be so tasty as well. So yeah, that's.
Sometimes it's simple is best,
Mm.
like when you don't you're able even with fried rice, like you can make it so complex, but the simplest way is
Yeah.
also delicious. So it's like you're never gonna go wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why I chose it because it's probably out of everything, it's one of those dishes that I tend to cook the most often. I think pretty much whenever we have rice left over, you know,
You're like,
we'll
it's
just
time.
chuck,
It's time for the
yeah,
fried
yeah,
rice.
yeah, yeah. So it's, I could not mention it, even though I think it's probably one of those very, dishes that everybody is most accessible to. So yeah, fried rice. Yeah. So what's next on your list?
So I actually had one planned, but after hearing you talk about fried rice, I like veered off and I just had this epiphany and I was like, I
Yeah,
must talk
go
about
for
this
it. Go
dish.
for it.
So I love egg drop soup and it's
Oh, I love egg drop. It's so good.
it's so good. That's why I was right now. That's why I had the epiphany because I feel like, especially what's amazing about it is that it has, for me, the connotation of, when it's cold, when you're not feeling well, and it immediately gives you that like nourishment
Yeah.
and there's so something that we eat in my culture is like matzo ball soup.
Mm.
Something that my family has eaten before, and that's what we always thought of, like the penicillin. It's
Yeah.
supposed to make you feel better. So something I feel like it used to be matzo ball soup for me, but now it's egg drop
Egg
soup
drop
because
soup.
I can
Yeah,
add
yeah,
the dumplings and it just brings nourishment and
yeah. Mm.
happiness.
And I think like if listeners haven't had egg drop soup before, do you want to just like slightly describe what it is? Because I feel like it's also one
Absolutely,
of those
yes.
dishes that is just so good to have. I think every culture has like their soup or something that is just like
Hmm.
comforting that you remember your parents making for you when you were sick. For me, for example, whenever I was growing up, it's a chicken and rice soup, and my mum would always
Mm-hmm.
make it for us whenever we were sick. And to this day, my nieces and nephew is absolutely adore this soup. Like we will make it, and it is the simplest thing to make,
Right. It's
but
not
it's
even
so
that hard.
comforting. Yeah, yeah. So,
Absolutely.
how would you describe egg drop soup to people?
So I would describe egg drop soup. It's funny because the name egg drop, you do literally just drop an
Mm.
egg into the soup. But what I love is that it kind of creates these flowers. So you have little the base is really chicken stock or whatever you want to start with the base. Whatever additions, especially like making it more Chinese, would add it, white pepper, I think
Yeah.
adds so much more flavor as well. So you add your spices because the broth is chicken broth, you're able to drink it without feeling like it's too
Mm.
heavy or too oily. And then you have the little plops of the egg flour that
Yeah.
come out, and it's just so
Yeah.
like I feel like I'm eating it right now, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
just so
It's
delicious.
it's so comforting. Like I tried making it a couple of times and it's one of those things that I could just happily eat. Like in the UK, it's rainy and, cold and
Hmm.
miserable for about 4 months in a row. There's just like no sunshine, nothing. And those dishes like really speak to me because at that, this time of year, it's just perfect for those types of dishes, even if you're not, especially when you're feeling a little bit under the weather. It's one of those dishes that I just, just it's so comforting to eat. So yeah. So for my last one, I adore this. I actually own something for. So I chose hot pot just because I adore hot pot. Like it
Good
is,
choice.
yeah, it is. I had it for the first time in London, and it is a chain that is actually originates out of China. So it was, and I asked a friend again, and she said, yeah, that's pretty much how it's served in China. A couple of changes here
Oh,
and
good.
there.
So very authentic.
Yeah, so it's very authentic. It's a huge chain over in China, and they kind of have a couple of stores. It took me like it. We were waiting, I think, for about an hour and a half to get a table. So it's busy. It's busy, and then
Hmm.
unless you book, we were lucky to get one, and that was my first experience of hot pot. And I ended up buying the hot pot itself. And well, actually, my partner bought it as a birthday gift for me, and
Oh.
for that specific birthday I actually invited a couple of friends over, and he prepared everything, like all the veggies, all the stocks and everything. And
Oh,
that's what we had for my birthday. That's like that year, it was, what I sort of asked for my birthday. And it was so lovely. There was so much food, and it was, just delicious. So, listeners, if you haven't had hot pot before, it's basically, I would describe it, it's a soup base. So you can have like different flavors. It can be mushroom, it can be tomato, it can be like all sorts of flavors. And that is kept in basically, a hot pot of sorts. So you make it, you make this soup base, and then you dump it into a hot pot that keeps that thing boiling. And you then cook your food in that sauce or that soup. So it can be anything from very, very thinly sliced meat to lotus to, I don't know, there's so mushrooms to, there's so many things you can do in hot pot. And then you also tend to have like a little dipping sauce that you also use on the side. And the dipping sauces, the combinations and variations are endless. Like everybody has a
absolutely.
different dipping sauce. And it's quite funny because through doing the podcast, I've met a lot of people, and a lot of them don't currently reside in China, but they come from Hong Kong, or they come from various places in China, or they're descendants of people, of immigrants from China. And they also love food, and I love to talk about them and talk to them about it. And it's great to learn like about it. And every single one of them will have like a different dipping sauce according to their own taste.
Absolutely.
Um, so if you have a restaurant near you that does hot pot, I highly, highly recommend it. But if you want to do it at home, like you can literally buy the soup base packets and do, the hot pot at home with, if you go to a local Asian supermarket, they have like all the very thin sliced meats and whatnot. And it's just one of those things that it's kind of similar. I would say it's similar to like having Korean barbecue. It's the atmosphere of sitting down.
Absolutely.
It's not the food. The food's very, very different, but it's the
Right.
atmosphere of sitting down with friends and just all family and just like all at the same table cooking your food. And, I think that's something we don't often do in the West, is like cooking your own food at the table. The only thing I can think of is in Portugal, we have something that is called hot stone meat, where they bring you a boiling, like, big, big slab of, it's just a stone that's, been in the oven, and it's really, really hot, and you
Hmm.
cook your meat on this stone. But that's the only thing like I can think of, because otherwise, Korean barbecue and hot pot and stuff like that, there's not quite anything similar in terms of you sitting down and cooking your own food. And I just adore it because it's such a simple way of making food for everybody, and everybody can like make it to their own taste and adjust it.
Exactly.
Instead of you having to cook three different meals because said person doesn't like this or said person. So I really, really enjoy hot pot. It's one of those things that I always try. I don't have one near me. I have one Korean restaurant in the city, like 20 minutes
Hmm.
away from me, and it's called the Kimchi. I just adore the name. It's a very small, family-owned
Oh,
business.
those are the best.
It truly is. It started off with the tiniest place. I think there's about six tables, and that is it.
Mm.
They turn over their tables, and that's it. And to this day, their food still tastes the same. They do all sorts of really, really good food in there. When I go to like that city, that's what I tend to go and eat.
Hmm.
Is we'll go to the kimchi, and it's just a place where it's family owned. They are Korean people that own this little restaurant. So, you're eating, as authentic as it gets. And I love finding places like that. So yeah. Yeah, that's my last choice is hot pot, because I could just literally I could eat it every day.
I 100% agree.
If it wasn't something that it does take a little while to prepare, because you sort of have to prepare all the ingredients and
All the
stuff.
ingredients,
Yeah.
prep, cut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But if it wasn't for that, I would gladly just eat hot pot every day.
If all the work was cut out, you
Yeah,
had
yeah,
everything ready,
yeah.
just bring, plop it on the table.
Yeah. So that's all the little, our favorite sort of foods that come to mind straight away. But we're not done with food because we are going to segue into dramas. But these dramas are dramas that are either focused on food or they're surrounding, or they have a food element to them. So, Claire, what's your first choice for dramas that, are centered around food?
So my first choice is one I mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode, and that's Weightlifting Fairy Kimbuktu. And I think if listeners have watched this episode, it's there's a couple of different avenues where it focuses on food. It's obviously not a food
Mm.
um, drama, but the famous Korean barbecue scene of how the best to eat and
Yeah.
maximize your fill at Korean barbecue. I
Yeah.
just rewatched it. It was so good. Um, it's one of my I actually do eat Korean barbecue that way. So they taught me the right way.
Yeah.
But
That's one I really, really enjoy. I think it's just like a nice sort of college drama in general, and I love their excitement for food because that's how I get with
yes,
food.
exactly. I feel like I'm like Kim Bok-joo and we're like the
Yeah.
same. I'm like I feel you, girl. That's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly how I feel when I look at food.
Yeah, yeah. So I totally get that. Yeah.
I also really liked that they also have her father owns the Korean fried chicken place. So you
hmm
also have like the Korean fried chicken
Yeah.
aspect as well.
I we have Korean fried chicken quite a few times, but it's my partner that makes it. He makes really good Korean fried chicken for
Oh,
so he sort of looked up and I first made it myself and then he kind of started looking at recipes and stuff. So his is not probably as authentic. He kind of like modified little bits of it, but it comes out so good every single time. And
that's all
I
that
just adore
matters.
it. I adored it. So that's something we eat quite often in our household, I think. So yeah.
As do we.
Oh God, it's so good. It's so good. I actually, in that order that came today, I have not had kimchi in a hot minute, and I tend to make it. I do make it myself a lot of the time.
Hmm.
But I've just not been like the cabbages that have been available in my local supermarket. They have just not looked that
Hmm.
great, and I was like, I don't
And
really
yeah,
make it. Yeah. So
right.
so when I was placing this order that arrived today, I was like, I'm gonna grab some some kimchi to go. So that's going to be on my menu today for when we
Oh,
finish
I'm excited.
recording.
Good.
I'm gonna have some kimchi, and it's gonna be a weird combination because it's these I don't know, it's like these chicken and it's covered in breadcrumbs and it's like a Portuguese seasoning that we kind of do. So
Mhm.
it's those, and I'm gonna have like rice and kimchi on the
Kimchi-
side.
Hey, that's that, those are the staples to any meal. You can add whatever
Yeah,
you want after
exactly.
that. That's my my motto.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very excited to eat that after we finish recording. So for my first drama, it is a Chinese drama, and it's called Dating in the Kitchen, and it stars Zhao Lushi, and she's like one of my favorite actresses in
Oh, I
general.
love her. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I know she's starring right now in a
The
period
last,
drama,
yeah, the
right?
last Immortal. Yeah, that's what
Right,
she's
right. I've
in.
seen
Yeah,
you
yeah,
mention
yeah.
that.
So this one is very based. She's a chef, but what I really like about her character, so we see a lot of food in this, like a lot of food, because the male lead kind of she does something, and the male lead basically she owes the male lead some money, and the way that
Hmm.
she's gonna repay him is by cooking for him every day, and the reason why is because he hasn't found anybody who can like he can enjoy their food as well as hers in a really long time, and there's just
Hmm.
something about her food that speaks to him. So and what I really really adore is her food looks really fancy and really delicious, and one of the first things he eats from her is egg fried rice. So
Ah, so
and
it's
it's
just
just
everything.
yeah. And I love it because she works at like this restaurant. but her roots come from this very humble. Her grandpa owns this very like street corner kind of little tiny shop, so her
Oh,
roots come from there. And I just, I really enjoy this drama. The drama itself, like the story is okay, but like what elevates it for me is like just
but the
all the
food.
food. Exactly. It's all the food. So I really, really adored this one. It's one of those that I just wanted to eat every single thing. It looked so tasty. So yeah, that's my first choice. What's on your list next? What's your second choice?
So my second choice is another K-drama. It's close to my heart because being in medicine, I always look at whenever I see a medical drama, I'm very suspicious because I
Mm.
don't think they're actually going to do it well.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm talking about Hospital Playlists, which I think
yeah.
they did very, very well. But what I also loves is that a lot of, especially being in medicine, like you work very hard, but you're able to come with your colleagues and you have like a lunch
Mm.
break or you sit and eat. So kind of going back to that community aspect. And I always loved all of the scenes from Hospital Playlist focusing on food, focusing on the colleagues coming and eating together
Yeah,
in the female lead's office as a break, like kimbap is one of the big ones. I remember they had a little funny comedy scene
yeah, yeah,
focusing
yeah.
around kimbap, or when the male lead and his son go to the egg toast place, what
Yeah.
was going viral during. I'm pretty sure like everybody, I wanted to go buy it. Like I
Yeah.
literally was like, where is the closest place
Yeah.
I can find this egg toast?
Yeah. I have watched that one and I enjoyed it. I think, anytime I think Korean dramas do this really well, where the community sort of comes together with food, and I love that sort
Right.
of aspect when watching those sort of dramas. I think like it's really funny because in on TikTok, there's always every year there's a couple of places from London that will go viral for one reason or another. And it tends to be like stuff from, Chinatown and around Chinatown. And
Hmm.
this, I had been away because obviously we had pandemic and everything. And I had
Right.
not been down to London in years. And we went down and we did all the things. So we went and ate like the fluffy Japanese pancakes, and we went and
Oh,
had
yes.
and then we went to the Korean hot dogs. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The now like it's like hot
yeah. Yeah,
Cheetos
yeah,
or
yeah. The
whatever you kind
one
of want to put on it.
the one that I loved was it was mozzarella cheese on the inside, and then it was potato, like the little square potatoes on the outside, and then it was battered,
Yes.
fried, and then they put sugar on it. They were like, "Do you want sugar?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. This sounds crazy, but I'm going with it. Yeah, you go ahead. You put the sugar on it." And I was like, "This is delicious. Like, why? Because you wouldn't think to put sugar on, something
Absolutely
like
not. Right.
that." But it just works so well. So I,
100% agree.
now whenever I see that, I was like, tick that off my list. I've tried that. I love it. So yeah, that I really did enjoy that one. So for me, next up on my list, I have a drama called Delicacy's Destiny, and it is a Chinese drama, and it is available only on, like, funnily enough, on Disney. That's the only place it's available.
Oh, really? I was like, I
Yeah.
haven't even heard of this
Yeah,
drama.
so this is a fairly unknown drama. It flew under the
Hmm.
radar because it was only airing in on Disney. It's, I think, about 2 years old at this point, and basically the story
Hmm.
is it's a period costume drama, and our female lead works in a restaurant, and she wants to become the best like chef in the royal palace. Like that's what she wants to do, and she is so good at cooking. But unfortunately, like in that time, they just would not accept women as like chefs or anything like that.
Hmm.
She does manage to like go into the palace and start cooking, but she starts cooking for like the pickiest prince that there is. Like he's her only, the only person she can cook for. And,
Hmm.
everybody's scared and doesn't like to cook for him because he's like so extra and so picky about his food. And she's just like, do you know what? it's fine. I can do this. And she starts cooking for him, and he actually enjoys her food. And, she doesn't really take any crap from him at all. And she's like, you're gonna eat
Hmm.
this and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, no other choice,
Yeah, yeah,
must.
yeah. So, and she, like, he would have a lot of dishes and he would really enjoy it. And she kind of like brings it back down and she makes him like one or two dishes and that's it. And he really starts to, and like, he rediscovers his love for food, like, through her cooking. And it is, I just adored it. It's such beautiful food. And also you get to see a lot of like how they used to cook back in those days as well, which I just really, really appreciate. The only thing with this drama is that the ending, it kind of almost ends like they were ready for a season two, but we never got a season two. But even
Uh,
saying that, I was still so glad I watched it because I loved the whole
mhm.
journey and I loved like just all the food that they showed us. And there's these beautiful things where she is then as he enjoys more of her food, she kind of like starts winning people over just by her sheer good, just by her love of food and her love of cooking. And people can see her sincerity through her food.
Through
And,
cooking.
yeah. And then you see like places like there's a big banquet at the palace. And she, for some reason, gets put in charge of one of the things like to offer to this banquet through the prince, and it is
Hmm.
beautiful. She does like there's like visiting people from different places. I think it's like four different places, and she does this huge table, and it's like there's a mountain and there's this and there's that, and there's like each piece is like from one of the visiting
The different.
people's. Yeah, and
Oh,
it is
that is so
stunning.
cool.
It's visually stunning to look at, and I'm like, this is just so, so beautiful. So I adored this drama. It's like one of my favorite food dramas that I've ever watched, I think. So yeah, that's Delicacy's Destiny.
Delicate. Okay, I'm gonna write that down and check it out because one of the biggest things, especially with C-dramas, I feel like they do really good with the visuals. And
mm,
especially with food, if it makes you want to eat it, they must have done a
yeah,
good
yeah.
job because you can't taste it.
No, absolutely. Like, honestly, I think you'd enjoy this one, if nothing else for the food, just because they do such a good job with it. I just adored it. And then there's like this beautiful, like, found family as well aspect to it. So
Hmm.
I really, really adored it. I was hooked. Like, I binged it in, a couple of days. It's not very long either. I think it's like 23 episodes or 20.
Oh,
So it's
that's short for
yeah, yeah,
Chinese
yeah, yeah, yeah,
dramas.
yeah. So it's not very long at all. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. So that's my pick. What's your last pick?
So my last pick, so it was so I almost had another interception like I did on the last one,
Yeah, yeah,
but because I unfortunately I don't remember the name of that drama, so I won't bring it up. But if I do, I will drop you a line. So if you
yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah.
share it with
Do
people,
do.
because it's a beautiful I'll give a short synopsis and hopefully maybe it'll come to me while I
Yeah.
speak. But it's a beautiful Chinese drama. It's a little bit similar to what you were describing. So I felt like the
Mm.
plot lines um were similar, but it was about how a girl who was brought into the palace to be a concubine for one of the princes who loves food, and she kind of
Is
starts winning
it
people over.
is it called Royal Feast by any chance? Do you think that
No, I
could
don't.
be it?
No, I wanted to.
Let me see.
It's I
I'm trying to think if I can remember. That's the only one.
because
Du-du-du.
it's she comes in through the royal selection, and she didn't originally want to be in the palace. I don't know if this rings a bell to you or not.
Hmm. New Life Begins, could that be it? That's
Yes,
yeah, New
it's
Life
New Life
Begins.
Begins.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I love that drama, by the way.
I
So
though I'm
good.
glad it came to mind because it's one of my I've rewatched that drama.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to say at least 3 or 4 times
It's so
because I
good.
felt like it's so good. It's so well done. And I love how so for listeners who haven't watched the drama yet, it's where she as she brings in and she falls in love with her prince. She also starts a restaurant with her
Mm.
fellow princesses,
Yeah.
and it brings a lot of joy and prosperity to women in those times, and it's
Mm,
very female empowering. But also, you see these beautiful dishes how they're trying to
so
create from
good.
different
Yeah.
provinces.
Yeah, it's one of those dramas where the romance is nice, but the sisterhood is the like chef's kiss on
Yes.
this drama. It is stunning. I actually reviewed it for the podcast. It's just one of those dramas that I adore it. It's one of those where the very one of the very last scenes where our like the so basically there's seven princes in the castle in the palace, and there's seven
Mhm.
regions, and each region has to offer up a girl to sort of marry into the prince so that they can maintain alliances and that sort of thing. And our female lead is played by Tian Shi Wei, and she does not want to be there. So the male lead for this is by Jing Ting, and she just doesn't want to be there, especially because she's marrying, in theory, marrying somebody who is meant to be dying soon. So
Yes.
there's that
Oh my God, that
whole
was the funny
plot.
part.
That is that whole plot. So she's like, fine, he's gonna die anyway, so I'm gonna become a widow. Whatever. It is what it is. But the sisterhood between these seven women is just so beautiful. And you see
Absolutely.
seven completely different backgrounds, and they do open this restaurant, and this restaurant like reflects a little bit of each region that they come from, and it is stunning. Like, I loved A New Life Begins. It has one of the most beautiful scenes towards the end where we have our seven girls handing off their plaques to the next generation.
Yes, I it was a beautiful, like,
Yeah,
coming full circle
yeah,
from the
yeah, yeah.
beginning.
So I adored it. It's one of my favorite. Like, I love that drama. It is a really really good drama. So yeah, I highly recommend that one as well. So, for my last choice, I thought I would go with something that's like short. It is 12 episodes. It is a modern day drama, and it is called Since I Met You. And the U is not spelt like you, it's spelt just like a
Mhm.
U. So, and it's basically about this is all about a dessert shop owner and a sort of food blogger of sorts, and they kind of meet, and he has like a sad past story in a sense, and she kind of
Mhm.
like comes in, and they kind of through shenanigans have to work together. And he's just trying, there's this one specific dessert that he's trying to conquer and accomplish, and it's like his journey to accomplishing that, that dessert. But throughout all of that, he's still running a dessert shop, and you get to see a completely different side of, it's just so beautiful desserts. It's like beautiful desserts, and I love to see it
Mhm.
because, like, this reminds me. I don't know if you follow him, and I always forget his name. I think it's Reynolds, and he was in MasterChef Australia. I think it was MasterChef Australia, like a good few years ago.
Oh, yes, I know who you're talking about. He has a bake shop. He has
Yeah,
these
yeah,
beau it was
yeah.
like these intricate, beautiful
Yes, yes,
desserts.
yes, yes. So a lot of these in this drama, like, they're not as good as Reynolds. They're definitely not, but they kind of remind me of that sort of thing. And he kind of, whatever dessert he's making is meant to invoke a certain feeling in the person, because it comes from a certain emotion that he's
Mhm.
making them. But yeah, this is what it reminds me of, because yeah, with Reynolds desserts, I could sit there and just watch his desserts. Like, they're so beautifully done. Like, he did the Harry Potter Quidditch like a balls dessert, and that's just stunning,
Yes.
stunning. It's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful. That's like on my bucket list, is to go, like, cause his restaurant is called Koi, and that is like on my bucket list, is to go and have a dessert like from his shop, because they just look stunning. So I thought, since I had talked about, like, other foods, this would be a nice one to sort of end on, because it's, desserts, and I'm a big dessert. I am the type of person who, when I go into a restaurant, I will look at the dessert menu before I look at,
Oh,
like, at the
no
food.
judgment here. I'm the same way. Like, I plan out when I plan out my we're going out to eat. I'm like,
Yeah,
well, what dessert are we eating? Because we have to have dessert.
yeah.
It doesn't matter what the main dish is,
No,
dessert has to
dessert,
be there.
exactly. There is, I am very much of the opinion that dessert has a full second stomach, so there's always
Exactly,
space for
100%.
dessert. There's always
100%.
always room for dessert. So yeah, I this one's very nice. It is super short. It's like 12 episodes. So it's called Since I Met You, and they do really beautiful desserts. Like I just really liked watching that. I will say I wish I could watch more like food dramas, but then I just get hungry and then I can't
Right,
have
and then
the
you have to stop the
food.
drama, you have to
Yeah.
go to the
Yeah.
kitchen, make food, and then
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
back.
And then like nothing really satisfies because it's not the food that I want to be eating what they're eating.
Exactly. And it's like they have this beautiful like
Yeah.
12-course meal, and you're like, well, I can't make that in
No.
like the 5 minutes that I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to go snack on something.
Yeah. So there's me like most of the time just sitting there with a bowl of instant ramen or something.
Right. Something has to
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
close.
So, yeah, I think that is everything. That is all our food choices and our drama choices. Uh, Claire, thank you so much for coming on this episode. I had a blast chatting to you.
I had so much fun being on here as well.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Guys, go and follow Claire. She cooks really nice things, and it's so beautiful to look at her page. So, you will get hungry. You will get hungry, but it's really nice to look at. So I love, watching your page. I will definitely put the link in the description box so people can go and find you on there. And I will be asking for that recipe for the tofu because I really want to try that now. So
I will.
you'll have
I'm
to
I'm
send
gonna
me the
go. I'm
recipe.
gonna go search up the is it the Tangoon was the
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Anne. Yeah. So they're the little.
thank you. Yeah,
I will send you when we finish recording. I will send you a picture, and then you can look it up. And honestly,
please do.
I
Please
think
do.
you will enjoy them because they're delicious, absolutely delicious. So
Watch in like 2 hours and it'd be like, look, I found it.
please do. I think you will. So that is everything for this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Again, thank you so much, Claire, for coming on, and I shall see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Want to find an Asian drama community? Then join the Tea and Soju Discord server, where we chat everything from C-dramas to K-dramas to J-dramas. To chat with me, check out any of the socials. Please help the podcast by rating, viewing, and subscribing wherever you listen to help others find this little corner. Lastly, consider joining Patreon to further support the podcast and receive extra content. All of the links are in the episode description. That's it. This has been another episode of the Tea and Soju C-Drama podcast. I'm your host, Liliana, and I'll see you next week for more C-Drama chatter.